first speaker is Francine Jackson with the presentation Rhode Island History Strikes Again. So whenever you are ready. And I'll give you like a 2-minute warning at the end of the 10. Okay. All right. Here we go.
Okay, thank you. You know I'm bad at this. They've made up an adjective for me, how bad I am. Anyway, I want to thank you all for letting me talk about my state again, even though I am kind of in the outer rim of GLPA. Now, this is kind of like a little exciting thing that's happened, but not really because of Rhode Island. Surprisingly, it's had some international repercussions. Imagine Rhode Island. And it does have to do slightly with the Revolutionary War. I just want to remind you that all of you were nice enough to let me talk a couple of years ago about the train wreck that took place in a little village in Rhode Island, Central Falls, which was kind of sort of responsible for the push for time zones. Now we have something a little bit different to talk about. And in this case, it happened during the Revolutionary War. While Washington was crossing the Delaware and doing all sorts of other things, Rhode Island was a little bit independent in its thoughts here. First of all, they didn't really want to get all that much into the war effort anyway, even though the British kind of pushed themselves into it, to the point where they started sending supply ships up Narragansett Bay, which kind of separates much of Rhode Island from each other. And one of them especially, the Gaspee, one of the British supply ships, went up to Narragansett Bay, got to the Patuxent region of Warwick, Rhode Island, and unfortunately ran aground. After that, the Rhode Islanders decided, rather than kind of to help them out, burnt the thing in non-support of the British movement here. And of course, you can imagine that the British got very upset about this. By the way, in fact, this was such a big event in Rhode Island history that to this day, we do have Gaspee Days every year where we burn a simulated Gaspee ship. Isn't that nice? Welcome to Rhode Island. Now, why this whole thing is relevant is that after this took place, naturally the British weren't too thrilled with us. So what they did was they deliberately sank 13 of their ships to prevent the French from sending supply ships up to Rhode Island. Now, because of this, an organization called Rhode Island MAP, Rhode Island Marine Archaeological Project, got into an idea that people had been thinking about for many, many years. I'd gotten kind of like a do you know type thing, even in the early 90s. They spent a lot of time looking down through Narragansett Bay. What I have here is, isn't that nice? Is a very pretty image of the part of Narragansett Bay. This is taken from the tip of Newport. That bridge you see is the Newport Pell Bridge, yes, same Pell as the Grants, which goes from Newport to the island of Jamestown. And when you see that, all of those little boats in the foreground, underneath there is where all of the ships were sunk. The Rhode Island maps, the Marine Archaeological Project, has spent a lot of time diving in that area. And what they found were, of the 13 ships, 5 of them were kind of smaller barks, smaller ships, supply ships, one of which was called the Earl of Sandwich, the Lord Sandwich. The Lord Sandwich, that was a beautiful name. The Lord Sandwich originally had been called the Endeavor. The Endeavor, as some of you know, was the ship that Captain Cook, the James Cook, I have to be careful, always careful when I say Captain Cook. I want to say Kirk. That Captain Cook used for his first around-the-world trip. Now, when the Marine Archaeological Project kind of made a press conference about this, which fortunately I was invited to but wasn't allowed to see much because the entire front of the in front of the room was totally filled with Australian press, believe it or not, because one of the major things, of course, that Cook did in his first voyage was discover the continent of Australia. And to them, the Endeavour is kind of analogous to our Mayflower. So they were thrilled to see the fact that it's believed that the Endeavour, or parts of the Endeavour, have been found. Now, there are actually 5 of these similar barks. 4 of them have had material brought up. So there's an 80% chance that part of it does belong to the Endeavour. But if nothing else, we know it's actually there. And incidentally, on his 3rd voyage, Captain Cook used the Resolution, which was another one of the other ships that was sunk for this reason. But of course, as many of you know, one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up now is that the Endeavour, the first of Captain Cook's ships, was the one that he sailed in addition to Australia. He made a stop at Tahiti to observe the transit of Venus of 1769. So what we have in our Rhode Island waters is pretty much proof that the ship that he used to observe this is just a few miles, once again, just a few miles from my house. Thank you. And that's it, very short. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, speaker number 2. That would be Dale Smith. All right, and this is his presentation, Mapping Your Village or Universe on a Poster.
Thanks for applauding at the beginning. After you hear the talk, you won't want to applaud. So what I'm going to do is describe what's very much a personal project, and then on the last page, in order to justify giving a talk and getting merit points for giving this talk at this conference, I'll try to connect back to planetariums. So there's a picture of my planetarium, and I can make this work. Point this way. There we go. So I grew up in though I'm not small anymore, I grew up in a very small village in New York State, about 200 people, around 55 houses. This is a Google Earth picture of it. And you'll notice conveniently that the aspect ratio of the village is about the same as the aspect ratio of most PowerPoint images and slides. That was really convenient. So growing up in a couple of years ago, I talked about archiving the village museum. I'd seen it a couple of times since it opened, went to it in 2011. After I'd been archiving all of GLPA and IPS materials, walked in and said, this lovingly collected collection is at risk of fire and everything else. They should archive it. Finally, I said, I'll archive it. So this is a picture of the outside of the museum over the next year. I scanned or photographed the entire collection, put it in PDF files, made it searchable, and so can't see this, and then I've gone back each summer since, updated with images of the recent acquisitions. Well, when I was a kid, back in the 60s, a friend and I photographed all the houses in the village, and I'm showing 2 of them here. On the left is the house I grew up in, and the right is the village store. There's one corner where the state road and the side road come together, and since my friend and I had grown up there, the village everybody knows everybody, and so we go around, and nobody was suspicious of our taking pictures of their houses. And so we had a complete collection over the late 60s. Then in the mid-90s, a couple years after my mother passed away, I repeated the project on my own. You can see that same buildings, but there are changes over that 25 years. And I was in a hurry to do the 1990s photographs because I was quickly becoming a stranger in the village. Most people wouldn't know me, and it would look pretty suspicious if this big fat stranger, I wasn't quite as heavy then, was going up and down the streets taking pictures of everybody's houses. But the effect was I had now 25 years apart, an entire record of the village. Well, I wanted to share this, and so I could spread out, a big map on the floor and put prints in the right place on the map. That's good for me. There was no easy technology to share it with the rest of the world until your posters came along. Now, when I submitted my paper for the IPS conference in Warsaw on my project of encoding shows in Decidome, we wanted to do an oral talk. Dave Weinrich and the committee relegated it to a poster. First, I was really angry. I'm going to withdraw. And then I said, this is a teachable moment. I can learn how to do a poster. I did that and then said, now I have a way to share the pictures of the village that I took. And so I took a Google Earth, it took a while to figure it out, but I took a Google Earth background, which is shown, you can see that up here. And so I at that point had digitized all of the pictures of buildings from the 60s and the 90s, and could drag each one into its proper place on the Google Earth background. Since it was a small village, I knew where every building was, and I could one by one match up the photographs I had with the little dots of buildings on this image. I made dragged in images about an inch in size horizontally, so they could go in the proper places. They needed really to be horizontal in format, so extensive amounts of lawn or front of the building or sky above it I cropped out, and then added some images taken from, where'd you go? From the corner. Remember, this is a village of 200, so there's one intersection in town, and some images taken from outside the village. You can't tell from here, but it's in a valley with some hills on a couple of the sides. And in a few places, I added notes where I was putting in pictures of buildings that had been taken down, but I remembered as a kid in the 50s or the 60s. So here's a close-up toward the village center. You can see it's magnified enough here that the Google Earth image starts to gets a little bit pixelated, but that's okay. Here's the corner store, the firehouse, a bunch of villages or a bunch of houses. In the oval frame, a house had been taken down. It used to be in the corner, now replaced by a park, and so forth throughout the village. Now, these buildings don't mean anything to any of you, but to somebody from the village, they would know each one and where they were. So the poster came there is 1969, and you may be able to tell us a lot of black and white images of each house in its proper place. We'll print the posters out roughly a yard from top to bottom and a little more right to left. Again, the aspect ratio of the village matches the aspect ratio of posters and frames, which was really convenient. And then here's the 1994 version, which at first glance is going to look the same. Okay, but individually, a lot of the buildings have been repainted, some taken down, not many new ones added, and a different set of pictures from the corner or from outside the village. And we'll make these posters again about a yard by 4 feet, and we'll put them in the village. I know the curator will put them into the village museum. And we got future plans. I'll put the posters in the museum. We're now about 25 years, or about 20 years out from the 1984 picture, so we'll probably do another set. I can't do them. I'm a stranger there now. But the current curator, everybody knows him, so he'll go around and take pictures. We'll make a current poster. And maybe, if we're lucky, live to see the 2040 poster, the successor to all of this. So does this have any connection with planetariums? Not a bit. It was just, but I've been here a long time to get away with giving a talk. Well, Francine too, in a sense. But there's some sort of obvious connections of a project like this to planetariums. Imagine first picturing an Earth map as the background, dragging in images of selected planetariums in their appropriate places, selected observatories, ancient astronomical sites, ancient cosmologies of early cultures located in the proper place, IPS conference sites, you can probably think of additional ideas. Or take a sky map and put in locations, clusters, nebulae, exoplanets, and other things. Now, there's plenty of posters that, of course, have images of nebulae clusters and so forth. But I think having them on a sky map that puts them in the location would be an interesting way to do it. So that's an attempt to connect a purely personal project with what we do in the job. And I
spin, Dale. What do you spin?
good, good. And I'm not running for office. And I think I'm done ahead of schedule.
Yes, you are. You've got 4 minutes of the actual presentation and then still another 3 for questions. So if anybody has questions, we've got 7 minutes.
Remember, the person up here, I can barely see you, so just raise, yeah, Dave.
So when you blew up,
when you enlarge the poster and the pictures, it's very clear. Those look like pretty small pictures, but they're very, you can tell. You can look at the details of a home.
On
before and
screen,
after.
on screen you can't see the detail, but if you zoom in, which they did in that sample in the center of the village, you can see them individually, or you can see good, sharp detail in the individual houses. When we go to print the poster out, an inch is enough. You'll be able to see the details. I'm constrained by, here's how maximum height the poster can have given the size of the paper on the printer, and wanting to have all the images fit in. So I sort of, by trial and error, got to an inch and said, yeah, the resolution's good enough. Now, we have run into problems with paper size, page size, in PowerPoint, printing the posters out. And I'd intended to have some here in the poster area. Right now, we can't print them out, so we've got some homework to do within PowerPoint and being able to do that. But the goal is to have a piece of paper that's got all these images on it. And the piece of paper is, in a sense, designed for people that live in the village, that know the individual houses. And somebody's going to, well, there's my house or there's my neighbor's house. So I want to have nice, sharp little insets that'll work for that. Yeah, Jean.
I'm wondering if you could do one of these for GLPA. Have every GLPA member take a picture of their planetarium, and you put this on a map of our region, and then we illustrate this at every one of our conferences.
That might, I'm thinking that we might have too many planetariums to conveniently fit in the poster for all of GLPA. If we went state by state, something like that, it might well work.
And you could also do the lines out from places and like an enlargement, and
Yeah.
another size of the.
I mean, so one of the places I was lucky in this is that the village outline is roughly 2 by 3, same aspect ratio as slides, and GLPA doesn't quite have a 3:2 aspect ratio. So there's a little juggling to do, but the short answer is yes.
Do you remember how John Potts would make these beautiful graphics of our GLPA region showing where people are? If we just added the pictures, I think it would be interesting.
It would be, indeed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dale also, and it's not directly related to GLPA, but it might be kind of fun for during the eclipse, maybe make Google Maps of the locations where it is, not just the book ones, but actually the individual places. And so people can see, like, geez, is the thing going to be over my house? Just kind of almost make it as like souvenirs or tourist attractions to different places.
Good idea.
For your poster, have you thought of going back and looking who lived in the houses back in time and like mapping that up with the current houses and current residences?
Yes and no. In the 60s, I can tell you the name and the surname of the family in every house in the village. I was a paper boy. I knew everybody. Now I know who lives in, the names of the people in half a dozen of the houses. The rest are buildings with memories.
There's always a census. You can go back and
Yeah. The current museum director, who's lived there for several years, he would probably know the names of people in most of the houses.
Okay.
But I don't write. That's why I could not repeat the photography by myself. I wouldn't get arrested, but there'd be people out asking, what are you doing?
Thank you.
We've still got 2 minutes for questions. And I actually have one if nobody else does. So have you ever considered making this like web, like an application of some sort and making it interactive so people could actually visit the web page and you wouldn't be constrained then by the 2:3 ratio or like print, having to print it at a certain size, not being able to see the images large enough. And then you could also include a lot more information if you like clicked on each individual home, then you could include who has lived there and so on and so forth.
I haven't thought of that, but it's a great idea.
Yeah, and it actually, in doing that, it would actually make it a little bit more relevant to just like the field of planetariums and just that medium, I guess. And could be really interesting if it was directly related to us and where we're located on the map, having that be usable in an actual, like, in the planetarium. That could be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if we did a GLPA map,
Yeah,
I think it would be
for
great
sure.
to have it on the website. For the museum,
Or in a dome.
yeah, one of my hopes is, that since they've got digital images of everything there, that eventually that'll go into a website. And then there'd be a background to take, museum posters, put them on the website and can make them interactive. With these, I don't have any interest in doing much of this myself. So if anyone wants to steal the idea and run with it, it would be great with me.
All right, well, we're at time, so thank you, Dale. And is this working? Okay. Our third and final presenter today is Alexa Alpern with her presentation, My Space Guide.
I'm a little short, sorry. Okay. Hello and welcome, Great Lakes Planetarium Association members, and welcome to the last of 2016's paper presentations. My name is Alexa Alpern, and I began my footing in the planetarium world from Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania, where I brought my first planetarium show to the big screen. I was now recently hired by the Ward Beecher Planetarium as their new digital content designer and animator, while I'm working on personal projects within the planetarium itself, as well as NASA's CosmoQuest project. What brings me here today is something completely new and a complete new concept design of my personal space guide. What is my personal space guide? Well, my computer friend and I will be filling you in all about that, so sit back, relax, and please enjoy my personal space guide.
Welcome to my personal space guide.
So basically, my personal space guide, why do we want to make something like this? Children only visit a planetarium a few times throughout their lifetime. They are also restricted of learning of space and other related topics by the lessons taught in class, as well as what they learn in the planetarium. The question is, what can we provide children and other people after they leave their planetarium?
options to customize your very own space guide.
Beginning in your upper right-hand corner, the user will begin by selecting the gender of the space guide and which home planet the guide comes from. Moving on to the bottom left-hand corner, the user has a color palette to customize the avatar. By selecting different colors, you can see what the character will look like. This is the current available outfit your avatar can wear. By earning space tokens, the user will be able to unlock more outfit options. On the other hand, the user does have access to 4 space helmet options they may use.
My personal space guide utilizes real educational materials and research provided from science educators.
Scientists can submit their educational material ideas. Their materials will be examined and translated into modules fit in the style of the program. Just like you and I, we cannot breathe in space, and we cannot drive without filling up our cars. To drive children to do more in the site, the user earns space tokens that allow them to buy needed accessories and more access throughout the program. Children can buy fuel to fill up their spaceship to explore more of space. They can also buy new costumes for their avatar, and no real money is in use. Another way to gain space tokens and other needed accessories, the user can spend Saturn Springs once per day to win a prize. Here is displayed the established color palette used throughout the website. These colors are often connected to space-like themes and other children environments.
So how can my personal space guide be integrated within actual planetariums? As you can tell from the modules that I've displayed before you, my personal space guide is an online website and a module that children can go on and make their own personal accounts that have safe play and many opportunities for them to learn. But there will be a trailer created that planetarians can use at the end of their show to promote my personal space guide. And also use it as, again, for homework assignments, extra credit opportunities, or just another way to let children experience more and more space that they don't get beyond the classroom and their occasional planetarium visits. So my current status of my personal space guide is in a very early concept design. Basically, I am working currently to create more and more designs of characters. There's many things throughout the website, including outfits.
Thank you so much for joining me this morning, and please enjoy the rest of the Great Lakes Planetarium Association Conference.
Okay, well that will end by itself, but I'm guessing I have a few minutes left.
You've got 6 minutes,
Oh.
and then 2 minutes for questions.
Okay. So again, to explain a little further than what was included in the video and continuing on where I left off, there's so much my personal space guide can give to children and planetarians alike. As mentioned in the presentation, there can be an educational institution account where teachers can go on and create a profile of their student and then add all of their students. So if they want to assign homework assignments, extra credit opportunities, etc., they can go in and only put in the assignments that they do. Again, like mentioned in the presentation, space tokens are what are earned. And it's something, I guess, if anyone knows of Neopets, but it's basically an online virtual pet website where the creator does go on, make their own avatar, and the avatar grows and learns with the user. There's many customized options. You can get, with space tokens, you can buy different outfits. You can also change the color throughout your play. So if you start with pink, you don't have to stay with pink. You can move to green, anything and above. Also, to keep with the space theme, you can also buy, with your space tokens, you can buy space shuttle fuel. And that way you can go deeper and deeper into space, exploring more and more planets and galaxies, etc. You can also buy oxygen tanks, so you don't need your space shuttle. You can hop around the moon or anywhere else you'd like. But yes, this is, again, a pre-concept of something that I plan to create and have available at some time in the future. But yes, thank you again all for being here, and that's all I really have. Yes? No, that's the wonderful thing. A lot of online virtual pet websites.
Could you just repeat what the question was?
So the question was, is there any real money involved to the user? And the answer is no. And that's what's so wonderful. Since this is aimed towards children, and many sites that are similar to this online do include real money, there's two options. You can have real money involved and the virtual money. But in this case, since it's an educational purpose, and it's meant to bring educational and interest into the planetarium space world, no real money is needed. All the space tokens are earned purely within the game, and that's what actually encourages users to continue throughout usage. By watching full animated features and by playing games, and of course the games are educational, or any other module integrated in the system, which is provided from scientists or astronomers that can put in different educational materials, every time a user goes and does that, they are earning space tokens. So everything that they need to buy or do, they all do it with the space tokens. And what makes it fun, the user does not have everything automatically available to them. So you might have a topic on dwarf planets. You might not have the entire series on dwarf planets available. By earning enough space tokens, you can unlock more and more chapters of dwarf planets, and so on and so forth.
You mentioned being able to purchase clothing.
Yes.
Is that real money?
No. Anything that I made, it's not real clothing. It's clothing that your little avatars, so the little
the avatar wears. Okay.
Let's see. So up here, it might be hard to see due to lighting and such, but in the top right-hand corner, you see the alien and what he is currently wearing. So that is one outfit option. So the different boxes will have different outfits that the user can use, purchase with space tokens. And then, so it makes it more fun. It's not you're stuck with one boring avatar. And you can also change the space helmets. And then there's different options. At the top right under where it says My Personal Space Guide Maker, there's different tabs that the user has to edit. So the avatar, you can edit the color of your avatar, you can edit the space costume, the space helmet. But then there's Spacecraft, where you can choose your own spacecraft out of a series of options. You can also add some pretty awesome, kid-friendly, fun little accessories like rocket boosters if they want to go super fast. So maybe that will be more coins than a regular ship. And then you also have a planet. So your avatar, you get to select which planet it can come from, which is your normal set, your Saturn, Jupiter, and so on. And all this is started up at the setup. But then as you continue, a lot of times in these games and these online modules, you don't want to stick with the same, you wouldn't wear the same clothing every day. So you have the option to go on here and go on.
I have more questions. This is a fascinating idea.
Oh, sure.
But how much of the information is real?
It's all supposed to be real.
So if they go to a planet, there's months and years involved?
Well, well, basically, I come from the computer animation world. I majored in computer animation, and one of the most things that we know as animators is research. And knowing that all of astronomers and scientists are everything about accuracy. And that's what I really enjoyed about the process of coming up with this concept is being a collaborative, working with astronomers, working with different people, that they can also have integrations of their own educational materials. So scientific educators can submit ideas or educational topics that they are interested in, and they can submit it to the creator, which at the moment is just me, and then I can take the information and recreate it into a module that fits into the style of my personal space guide, and then it becomes available to the user in a form of an animation, a digital game, or some other related topic.
We've got a little bit over a minute left for questions if there are any more.
I was just wondering if you might get involved with, we have good web people in GLPA, but you might offer your services and some good things that come out of that.
I would be more than happy to if anyone needs any help.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you, Alexa.
Thank you so much.